Has the Earth begun to retaliate against our reckless actions? This pressing question looms as we witness the escalating impacts of climate change on our global environment. The world is now a stage for a dramatic increase in the frequency and intensity of natural disasters, a chilling testament to the dire consequences of human-induced climate change. From searing heat waves to devastating hurricanes, the evidence is unequivocal. Today we delve into 10 instances where nature has shown its wrath due to climate change. The summer of 2003 was a deadly one in Europe. Scorching heat swept across the continent like a relentless wave, causing a staggering death toll that reached into the tens of thousands. The elderly, the sick, and the vulnerable bore the brunt of this merciless onslaught. But human life wasn't the only casualty. The agriculture industry was hit hard, with significant crop losses rippling through economies. Scientists have since reached a consensus that this extreme event was not a mere anomaly, but a direct consequence of climate change. The rising temperatures, they say, made such heat waves more likely, more intense. The 2003 heat wave was a wake-up call to the deadly consequences of a warming planet. In 2005, New Orleans faced the fury of Hurricane Katrina. A storm of colossal proportions, Katrina was one of the deadliest hurricanes in U.S. history, leaving nothing but devastation in its wake. It was not just the initial onslaught that caused such destruction. The subsequent flooding from breached levees added to the chaos, resulting in an estimated 1,000+ casualties and billions in property damages. But what's the connection with climate change, you might ask? Well, scientists have found that warmer ocean temperatures, a consequence of climate change, can intensify hurricanes. The warmer the water, the more energy it provides, fueling these ferocious storms. And in the case of Katrina, the Gulf of Mexico's unusually warm waters that year likely supercharged the hurricane. The impact of Hurricane Katrina serves as a stark reminder of how climate change can exacerbate natural disasters. Climate change had intensified Katrina, turning it into a disaster of unprecedented magnitude. 2010 saw Russia grapple with a heatwave of historic proportions. This wasn't just a case of sunburn and ice cream sales soaring. No, this was an extreme event that led to widespread wildfires, destroying homes and decimating wildlife. The heatwave was relentless, lasting for a staggering 2 months, which is far beyond the realm of a typical summer. But it wasn't just the landscape that suffered. The human cost was immense. Thousands of people lost their lives, with some estimates putting the death toll at over 55,000. Hospitals were overwhelmed and the country was in a state of emergency. And why did this happen? Well, climate change is the prime suspect. The increased temperatures we're seeing worldwide make such extreme heat events more likely. No country, no matter how vast or prepared, is immune from the effects. The Russian heatwave was a stark reminder of the dangers of a warming climate. This was not just a heatwave, it was a warning. Superstorm Sandy wreaked havoc on the eastern seaboard of the United States in 2012. This was not your everyday storm. It was a beast of a tempest, causing destruction on an unimaginable scale. Cities were flooded, homes were demolished, and lives were tragically lost. The damage was estimated to be around $50 billion, making it one of the costliest hurricanes in U.S. history. But what does climate change have to do with this? Well, scientific research suggests that climate change is making storms like Sandy more intense and more frequent. Warmer oceans fuel more powerful storms, and higher sea levels mean more devastating storm surges. Superstorm Sandy was a grim indication of the new normal in a changing climate. In 2014, California experienced its worst drought in over a millennium. This was not a typical dry spell. The state's agricultural heartland wilted under the unrelenting sun, with farmers grappling with barren fields and dwindling water resources. The parched landscape was a tinderbox, sparking some of the most devastating wildfires in the state's history. But what role did climate change play in this catastrophe? Scientists point to higher temperatures and shifting weather patterns, exacerbating drought conditions. The arid conditions weren't just a blip on the radar, they were a sign of a new, drier normal. A chilling preview of a world reshaped by climate change. The California drought was a stark warning of the future of water scarcity under climate change. In 2016, the Great Barrier Reef experienced the worst bleaching event in its history. This was not just a random occurrence, but a direct consequence of record-breaking ocean temperatures. The vibrant underwater ecosystem, known for its rich biodiversity, was stripped bare, its corals bleached bone white. This environmental catastrophe was a result of the warm ocean water stressing the corals, causing them to expel the algae living in their tissues, a source of their food and vibrant color. Without the algae, the corals starved and turned white. The bleaching of the Great Barrier Reef is a stark reminder of the ocean's vulnerability to climate change and the urgent need to address this global crisis. The bleaching of the Great Barrier Reef was a clear sign of the ocean's distress under climate change. 2018 saw deadly wildfires rage in both California and Greece. In California, the flames claimed more than 80 lives and obliterated the town of Paradise. While in Greece, the seaside village of Mati was virtually wiped off the map, taking with it a devastating 100 lives. These wildfires weren't just random acts of nature. They were fueled by prolonged droughts and extreme heat, conditions that were exacerbated by climate change. As the planet warms, landscapes become drier and more combustible, providing the perfect kindling for these destructive fires. And it's not just the immediate destruction that's concerning. Wildfires also release vast amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, further intensifying the cycle of global warming. The widespread damage, the loss of life, the environmental impact, these are not mere statistics. They are stark reminders of our escalating climate crisis. The wildfires of 2018 were a fiery testament to the urgency of addressing climate change. Australia faced an unprecedented bushfire crisis in 2019 and 2020. It was a disaster that has since been etched into the memory of the world. The bushfires, also known as wildfires, swept across the continent, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. Over 46 million acres of land were consumed by the flames, an area larger than the entire country of Syria. Lives were lost, homes were reduced to ashes, and an estimated 1 billion animals perished. The air was thick with smoke, even affecting air quality thousands of miles away in New Zealand. But what was the underlying cause of these horrific fires? Experts point to a deadly cocktail of prolonged drought, high temperatures, and strong winds. However, the thread woven into all these factors is climate change. Scientific research suggests that climate change is increasing the frequency and intensity of such fires. The Australian bushfires were a stark reminder of the devastating power of climate change. Our planet is suffering, and it's high time we take action. From the heart of Europe to the far reaches of Australia, Mother Nature is crying out for help. We've seen the devastation, felt the heat, and now we must respond. Our collective efforts can turn the tide against this global crisis. It's not about the next 100 years, it's about the next generation. Each one of us has a part to play in combating climate change. The time to act is now.